Hi winners, and welcome to a kind of special Winning Wednesday. Now, I did bring this up a few weeks ago, talked about how I was going to mention my experience with anxiety recently, especially recently. But before I get to that, I just want to say hello to everyone that's new, that's subscribed. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for viewing. And I don't want you to think that anxiety is who I am. This is just for people who want to know what's going on or people who are struggling with anxiety themselves. This might help you. But I just kind of want to update you guys on what's going on with me because it's definitely something I'm fighting with recently. But I just want to keep it to that. I just want to focus it on anxiety story and not have a whole bunch of other stuff cluttered in this video. So this is my anxiety story. Now, to start off with, I've had anxiety probably my whole life, but it wasn't really, I never classified it or had anyone classify it as anxiety until I hit college. Now, I definitely see it in my parents, especially my mom. But what's weird with my mom is she doesn't show it easily, or at least that's not true, but she has a lot of optimism. She has a lot of energy. She's not what you would consider someone to be having an anxiety disorder or anything of the sort. But she definitely is who I get it primarily from. I do get it from my dad, but my dad's got it on a different level. His is more, I'd say more on the paranoia level. I'm definitely a mix of the two. And my mom's is more of do so much, like put so much on your plate and then get anxious that you can't do it all, but you still keep adding more and more and more and more. That's how we roll. But my dad's more of, I'm like, for me, my dad and me coming out is when I'm afraid to go to a store by myself or when I'm afraid to walk on the street by myself. I just get nervous. I don't, like, he's always been, don't be by yourself. There's someone that, like, people might take you. You never know who's going to be around. My dad has always made me paranoid, which has in turn, given me anxiety about being alone or about doing stuff by myself. So I have two different extremes, both of which are a part of me, whereas my mom and dad only have to deal with the specified anxiety. So I am definitely a special case. I didn't really start noticing I had anxiety, or my parents didn't really talk about it until I started dating Shy Guy. Shy Guys, it came out in the form of control. More like I wanted more control. Because Shy Guy definitely in high school was more free, if you want to put it that way. Not very responsible, definitely someone in high school. And I had a hard time with that because I was raised being very responsible and making sure stuff gets done and that you take care of everything you need to, or that you take care of the person that you're with, or that you tell the truth, or that you do that. And so I had a lot of anxiety being with Shy Guys, so I would take it out in the form of control. Did not help, seeing as that was how his mother did it too. So then we had a very spotty relationship in the beginning because of it. Well, middle beginning. The very beginning, you know, it's honeymoon stage. But after the honeymoon stage happened, it was very hit or miss. But that's when my mom really started noticing my anxiety. She never really brought it up before. She never thought of it as anxiety because she didn't even know she had anxiety. And I'm sure my dad probably still doesn't. He might know he has anxiety. Actually, no, he recently told me he knows he has anxiety, but I didn't know he knew that before. But he didn't take anything for it, and neither did my mom, and my mom never knew that she had it until she went to a doctor later, and they were like, do you know you have anxiety? And she's like, what? That's where I get it from. But she really noticed it in me, but not as anxiety, just as an issue. She thought of it just as a control issue. And I'm now realizing, you know, more and more, just that was probably related to my anxiety. Definitely controlled my life as I got older. Not when I was younger, at least not enough to where we noticed it was anxiety or that I needed help or anything like that. I may have needed help for some other stuff going on in my life that I was just being a dramatic teenager about. But I think my mom really started realizing in college, you know, this isn't teenager, this isn't puberty anymore, this is actually you. Because when she went to the doctor and was told she had anxiety, that's when and was told what the symptoms are and stuff, she really started seeing it in me. And that mine was amplified compared to hers. Like, hers she's been living with for, 45 years at the point she had realized that she had it. Whereas me is early 20s. And in college, I tended to take on a lot. I definitely had anxiety hardcore about going to school far away, so that was not fun. I've always been afraid of being alone. It definitely shows in my relationships, because I actually have not been officially single, for more than 2 months since 6th grade, which is an accomplishment. That doesn't mean that they were serious relationships more than half the time. I have a lot of exes, but majority of them were, like, that's including my best friend, who were like, hey, let's date, and we dated for 3 days and was like, well, this is weird. We didn't do anything more. Like, we were 6th grade. You don't do anything in 6th grade, you just have the label. So, maybe a kiss. Maybe 6th grade. Well, then again, I don't know, but that was my 6th grade. That was my innocent 6th grade years. 7th grade, all that. But 8th grade was when I started really having serious relationships, but that's when my mom started realizing, oh, you have a problem being alone. Not just boy obsessed, but you actually have a problem being alone. Because when I was alone for 2 months, I think my sophomore year in high school, I was in deep depression, anxiety, just like, it was bad. And that's when I met Shy Guy. Was right after that. So I definitely came into the relationship with anxiety. Didn't quite help. But then, as college went by, I mean, I was on my own. I was figuring it out. But my emotions would rock the boat a lot. If, like, it was mostly if plans changed, I would freak out. I would have a really hard time with it. I mean, I still have a hard time with it. But I didn't know how to handle it. Especially if it was someone who I was expecting to spend the night with, like, just, like, hang out, or River when we first started dating, and then he would go and play Magic, and I'm like, you didn't tell me you were going to go play Magic. And then I would kind of freak out, because I'm like, what the hell, now I'm sitting here alone, and I don't know what to do with myself, and I would just, like, freak out. And that sounds so stupid, because it's like, I could do so much by myself. I could play video games, I could go draw, I could do something, whatever, but that's not, with anxiety, that's not the first thing you think. The first thing you think of is, this is not what I had planned, this is not okay, and now I'm alone, and my biggest fear is being alone, so now everything's falling apart, and anxiety is just very different. If you haven't had anxiety, it's very hard to understand it. I still have friends to this day who have known me for 8 years or longer who still don't understand what anxiety is. Boy, is it fun to try and explain it. It's nothing you can control. It's normally a snowball effect. By the time you realize it's happening, it's chased out. Like, it's barreling down the hill and you don't know how to stop it. Like, legitimately, and most of the time people don't realize they're having anxiety until after the moment has passed, especially if they don't know they have anxiety in general. Me, I've kind of, over time, been able to catch when I'm being anxious, but it's still a difficult thing. Now, when I started to get closer to graduating, I was like, I need to go see a counselor, because I'm clearly having problems. Not just with anxiety, but with control issues. But now I'm realizing my control issues are related to my anxiety. So I went to a counselor in college. I only saw them once. I probably should have seen them more, but I was in college and wanted to do other things with my life than go see a counselor. But as I reiterate, I should have gone more. I definitely should have gone in high school, but again, we didn't know I had it until later. And the counselor had taught me that if plans change on me, then I should go and I should always have a backup plan. So if River were to be like, hey, I'm going to Magic tonight, I'd be like, okay, what can I do? I can play video games. I can do this. I started making backup plans because that would help me with my anxiety. I digress. Well, then when mood changed because of my background, as I started getting nearer to graduation, I was talking to my mom about it more and more, and she was like, you know, probably when you graduate, you want to go to see a counselor and try and deal with your anxiety. Like, that's probably a great idea. I gotta actually do it. What really actually ended up helping, other than the counselor honestly did help a lot with separate issues. But with my anxiety, what ended up really helping was I started taking medication. I decided going to a psychiatrist and having him fill out the prescription for me to take meds was going to be the best option. And I had been taking those meds, so that was February of 2 years ago. So almost exactly 2 years ago is when I started taking the meds. So not 2015, but I think February 2014 is when I started taking my medication. One was an antidepressant and the other one was an anti-bipolar. Now, I wasn't bipolar, and he said that, but my emotions did swing farther into the extreme when I was upset with my anxiety or when I would PMS or whatever. I would get a little more upset than the usual person. I wasn't unrealistic by any means, but it still was enough that he was afraid that if he just gave me the antidepressant, that it would make my mood not normal. So he wanted to stabilize my mood by giving me mood stabilizers, which are anti-bipolar. And I found that to be really helpful. I didn't feel, now I don't know if, you know, for all those that do have anxiety, you might feel this too, I'm not sure. But for anyone that doesn't know what anxiety feels like, for me at least, it feels like a tightness in my chest. My heart sometimes tends to go really fast. It's kind of hard to breathe. And this is not talking anxiety attack. This is just anxiety. But like, I feel like tightness in my chest. It's normally when you're nervous about going on stage or something like that, but you feel that a lot of the time. That's with anxiety, for me. I don't want to do it. Like, it'll actually stop me from doing something because I'm really scared to do it or nervous to do it. Like, to this day, even on anxiety medication, I am uncomfortable going in public by myself because I'm afraid of what might happen. I might get taken. I might get this. I might get that. I don't know. It's the unknown that scares me. So on anxiety medication, I didn't take that high of a dose. He had me take a really low dosage because one of the meds I was taking is a hit and miss with people's biology. So that's kind of terrifying. But he wanted to make sure that I wasn't going to like break out in a rash and die. And no joke, that is the symptom. You break out in a rash. If you don't stop taking it, you die. Don't want to do that. That did not happen to me, luckily. But I don't know why I'm holding on to my headphones. But he had me on a low dose, and then he upped it a little bit, and then was like, how you feel? And I'm like, I actually feel really great. Like, I don't feel the clench as bad. Like, my chest doesn't tighten up as much, and I don't overreact to Shy Guy anymore when he is not doing what I want him to, or whatever, because of control issues. Or River likes to poke me. A lot. Likes to troll me. Craven knows. We were just talking about this earlier, actually. But I would react really aggressively when I wasn't on medication. When I was, it was harder to poke the bear, so to say. So it really helped in those cases, but it was a low dose. So I don't know how it is to be on a higher dose, because he would have, if I wasn't okay with the dose and would have wanted more, he would have given me more. But I didn't like the idea of taking meds in the first place. Don't be afraid to take medication. Really don't. It really helped me. It saved my relationship with Shy Guy, and it kept me from being stressed out all the time. And quite honestly, I think it saved my ass last year. With how much happened last year and everything with my family and all that, I think it really saved my emotional state last year. I mean, I've never been depressed or suicidal. Well, that's not true. I've very rarely been seriously depressed, and I've never been suicidal. But some people have, and they go through that stuff. And honestly, if I was a suicidal person, last year would have definitely been a challenge without meds. With my grandpa dying, and then a few, like, my grandpa dying was probably the most major thing. And then my dad getting surgery, which, by the way, he's getting surgery again in 2 weeks. That's great. My mom being in the severe car accident, which is terrifying. And then my great-grandpa died, and then my uncle got heart surgery. That was like 12% chance of living. Like, it was a lot last year. My friend's sister committing suicide. Like, it was just like, it was a fun year. Well, a year and a half. It was great. But without medication, I don't know how I would have done. So, honestly, like, if you guys have your own issues, I highly suggest taking medication. If, you know, you have the availability to you. Seriously, it helps. Don't feel ashamed. My thing was I didn't like that my body was relying on something other than myself, but I gave into it because I couldn't control it any more than I was at that point. So, these past few weeks, I think, like 3 weeks, maybe a month, I had to get off my meds. Because my mom switched from insurances, and it basically made me having to for having meds, I had to go the first 2 months, like 1 month and then another month, and then it was every 3 months. Well, I had to see the doctor again in February, or the psychiatrist, and because of switching insurance, instead of it being $25, it went to $300. I can't. Like, I was like, not for that. Not, like, it's worth it if it's your child, but when it's yourself, you kind of start picking priorities there, and that was not a priority for me. Just saying. Plus, I was already kind of planning to get off it because I wanted to see. I'm in a stable moment in my life, stable-ish, but like as stable as it's gonna be right now. Nothing really extreme has happened, and I feel like I would rather get off of it in a controlled environment with a lot of support and love from my friends and family than having to do it later for whatever reason. Also, if you ever plan, like if you're a woman and plan on getting pregnant, you can't be on meds, and I'm not planning on it, but I don't want to have to worry about meds on top of if I were to ever get pregnant or anything. Like, so I was already planning like the next year or two to start getting off of it anyway to try and figure out how I'd be. It also, I was also influenced by hearing a lot of people's stories about how they actually felt better when they got off the meds. My boss being one of them, she said that she felt a lot better getting off the meds, that she would never go on them again. Stuff like that. I heard on the radio, the two like morning co-hosts I listened to said that they feel so much better, and they're like wondering what the meds did for them in the first place. So I don't know if one, I didn't take them long enough, or two, I wasn't taking a strong enough dose, but needless to say, getting off meds for me personally and my biology and my anxiety has not been fun. It has not been better. It has definitely been a challenge. I'm still figuring out how my emotions are because I didn't realize how muted my emotions were. I sensed it when my grandpa had passed away. I kind of sensed how muted my emotions were because I didn't cry as much as I would have thought. Like, I felt extreme sadness and I was very depressed. But it was like, I wouldn't cry as easily as I would have thought someone important in my life dying. I mean, I cried when I found out that he died, but like, you know, 2 or 3 days later, I could talk about it and be pretty okay, which really surprised me and shocked me. But I really think it was the medication because now, like, I am so close to tearing up about anything. Like, freaking, of course, like, all the deaths in freaking Mass Effect happened after I went off my bed. So it's like, I was just, like, bawling my eyes out. Like, in To the Moon and stuff. I wasn't taking my medication during that, and that's why I was, like, falling apart during To the Moon. My emotions have always been very extreme, so I didn't realize how muted the medication made me until recently. But also, I think it's my body trying to get used to all of a sudden being this way again. I did try to wean myself off of my meds. I did not try to do cold turkey, and you are not supposed to try and get off your meds by yourself. You're supposed to do it with a psychiatrist, and I would have loved to do that if I had the money. Quite honestly, I was planning to do it, like, the right way and everything, but then when my mom's like, oh, by the way, we're changing insurance, I'm like, okay, how does this affect me? Oh, $300. Yep. So, don't ever do that. And I've definitely been going through a really hard time with it. So now I really recommend never doing it without the help. But I knew I was strong enough to do it. And my support knows I'm doing it. And they're helping me. And it's fine. Like Shy Guy, River, my mom. All of them are helping me. But it has definitely been a roller coaster. Way more than I thought it was going to be. So it'll make for more entertainment for you guys in the sense of I'll be way more emotional during games, so I'll be more entertaining to watch. But IRL, that's also how I am, so it's not really a even toss-up for me. But I just want you guys to know that if I get really overwhelmed and there's not a video or two, I'm so sorry. I don't want it to be like that. It hasn't been actually recently. I've been fairly good about uploading videos or whatnot, but my sleep has definitely suffered, which might also not help with the anxiety, because I'm sure that your body, in order to recover its emotional state and stuff, is sleep. And I have gotten anywhere from 5 to 6 hours of sleep every night on weekdays. And then on weekends, I, like, catch up, but it's not been optimal. But I am trying, but I wanted to share my anxiety story with you guys because some of you have anxiety and you've told me that, and I know there are ways to cope with it. On top of that, one of you mentioned acupuncture, which I would love to do, but I gotta spend the money. But actually I might, because I've been able to save recently, so who knows. But I've been trying to do things like my dad said probiotics was helping with his anxiety, which is when I found out that he knew he had anxiety. And my mom said vitamin D because of the sun not being out so much, because we're in Illinois and it's snowing all the time. And now recently raining. So I'm trying to do some natural stuff that kind of helps with the body chemistry, but everybody's different. So it's, yeah, it's fun. But I wanted to update you guys on what I'm doing because it may or may not affect the channel. But that I want you guys to know, like, we're people too as entertainers. And on top of that, I don't want you guys to feel like you have or should be ashamed of having anxiety or anything like that, because people like us have it too. Like, everyone has it. Actors, I'm sure. We all know actors have it. Like, some actors commit suicide and you're like, why? I thought they had it perfect. It doesn't have anything to do with, well, not anything, but it doesn't always have to do with your life circumstances. It has to do with just your body chemistry and stuff you cannot control. My friend's like, well, you know, just don't feel that way. I'm like, I can't just not feel that way. It's just the way you feel when you have anxiety. Like, it's as much as it's hard for someone without anxiety to understand anxiety, it's hard someone with anxiety to understand how you don't understand it. It's like a weird, like, flip-flop. It's always triggered by different things for everybody, and I just want you guys to know that I have it, and I'm not ashamed of it. I'm really not. Like, I have anxiety, whatever. I'm just an anxious ball of bleh all the time, but You know, I'm dealing with it, and my recommendation to any of you, if you guys are trying to deal with your anxiety or depression or bipolar or any sort of mental illness whatsoever, definitely go see a psychiatrist. Because the other reason why I was like, I'm pretty okay to go off meds, even if I do freak out, my mom said she'd help me go, like, if financially I need it, to go right back to go get the meds. She'll help me. I got really lucky with that. Some people aren't so lucky and have to get off of them. But I would say definitely talk to people you know that have anxiety, or at least go see your local counselor or social worker that can at least give you some coping mechanisms, because before I got off the meds, I also had some coping mechanisms given to me. One of which my boss actually gave me, which I think is amazing, is if you feel panic attack coming on, counting down from 300 in sevens, because you'll never land on the same number. It sounds weird, but it's actually brilliant in the sense of calming you down right away. Like, it keeps you from the tipping point, if you remember to do it. Obviously, you have to remember. It'll clear your head enough in the moment. Obviously, when you have anxiety, your anxiety is going to come right back, but it'll at least try and prevent the panic attack itself, or shorten it. If you remember to do it while you're having the anxiety attack, that's a lot harder. This is a really long video, but I just really wanted to get it all out there. One video. This is me at this point in time with my anxiety. I'm coping with it. Not medication, but I'm okay. One thing that I'm going to leave you guys with is I am actually trying this 28-day thing that is trying to be more grateful. Now, anxiety has nothing to do with being grateful. And a lot of people are like, well, what, you're not grateful? Not in comparison to the thing I'm doing. No one is as grateful as the thing I'm doing unless you do this thing. Because, yeah, you might say thank you when someone does something for you. Or you might be, like me, I'm really fucking humble. Like, I don't try to be. I'm like, you didn't have to. Like, for people that have donated to me, you know. Like, I'm just like, oh my god. Like, I'm really thankful about it. But this is something completely different. It's called The Secret, the Magic, the Power, whatever you want to call it. Specifically, I'm doing the Magic right now, which is basically just a book that is entirely based on how to be more grateful. And they're saying, like, because it's basically being optimistic and grateful and loving, and as you surround yourself in that, it's harder to be affected by other things. So I'm really hoping that this helps with my anxiety. I know it says it helps people with mental illness, sometimes helps people with mental illness, but that's not why I did it. I did it because I personally feel like it can help me. And I already have the beliefs that go along the lines of The Secret and the Magic and the Power, but I really wanted to see what it would be like, and I'm doing it with my mom. She's 2 days behind me, but if you see on Twitter and Instagram me being grateful, it's because I'm doing this thing. I decided to add my own challenges on top of the challenges it gives me every day. And so every morning I am tweeting something I'm grateful for. And then every night I am Instagramming a photo, which will automatically go to Twitter. So it's just whichever one you're following me on. But I'll Instagram a photo and say what I was grateful for this day specifically. On top of what else I already have to do. Like, I've already had to take a rock or whatever, stone or whatever I want, and hold on to it and think of what I'm most grateful for this day. And the reason why it's good to do that is because you have to go through everything you've been grateful for in the day in order to find the one you're most grateful for. So you're automatically thinking of being grateful. But on top of that, every morning you have to write 10 things you're grateful for and why. And then there's many things to do throughout the day. It's a lot of work, and I know I'm just doing it more on top of all the other shit I have to do, but I feel like I really need this because it's really helpful at reminding you at how much you have. So if you have anxiety, if you have depression, if you have anything like that, this really helps you push past yourself and being stuck in your head, and makes you think outward and outside of yourself. So that's what I'm doing personally. And so if you guys are like on Twitter and like, why the hell does she keep saying she's grateful every day? That's why. Because really just want to focus on how much I'm lucky for and how lucky I am to have you guys, how lucky I am to be healthy, how lucky I am to be alive in comparison to how much has happened in the past year and a half. I'm really freaking lucky. It's just, I'm hoping it helps a lot. And I'll let you guys know at the end of it how much it has helped. But I'm going to cut this off because it's already at 35 minutes. But I just really felt like this all needed to be said for you guys, and you guys knew what was up. But I hope you guys are winning at life, and if you have any questions or stories to tell yourself, I will always read the comments, and I will usually always respond unless it's something I literally can't respond to. But I'm here for you guys just as much as you guys have been awesome and here for me. So I hope you guys are winning at life, and I'll see you in the next Winning Wednesday playthrough or whatever it is you guys watch. So keep winning, guys.